Alright you lot, don't forget to give us a follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and while you're at it, give us a 5-star rating. Trust me, it really does help us out.
Not to get too deep, but I've had a lot of like theological conversations about this, and a lot of it has to do with language use, right? Like the minute you stop saying female racing driver and just racing driver. The minute that you stop saying women in motorsport and just, like, I've always said, you know, I've been invited to a lot of like women in motorsport things, and I'm fine to do it because I think it is still important at this point in time to give voices and share experiences and talk about it like we are right now on this pod. But like, I'm just Jess in motorsport, right? I've never thought of, I don't walk into a paddock and go, oh, I'm a female in motorsport, right? You know what I mean? Just like you guys would never walk in and go, oh, I'm a man in motorsport. Like it just doesn't happen, right? So, but there is like, there's probably stages in which we have to do. And right now what we're in is like the awareness stage, right? We're talking about it more. We're putting in certain actions. Like I was originally really against W Series for the exact reason that
I was going to ask you about this,
right? It was like, right, you don't have a place, you can't play with the boys.
Yeah.
Here's your own series. But actually when I went out and I had this preconceived idea because I was very strong in my thoughts about the only way we get equality is if we talk about each other in the same breath with the same language. But then I went and spoke to the girls, and you speak to people like Jess Hawkins, Alice Powell, like even Jamie Chadwick to an extent, maybe less so just because she had a bit more backing, but those girls would not have raced had it not been for W Series. Yeah. And now, Abby Pulling is on the Alpine Academy. Like you definitely, it was needed. And you speak to Catherine Von Muir, the CEO of W Series, and she is well aware that this series is a temporary solution. Like it's not going to last forever. We're not going to have W Series. Like we would very much hope we won't have W Series in like 10 years time.
Yeah, it's just a stage in the ladder almost.
Exactly. It's giving them the opportunity, because the biggest thing, and I was speaking, so one of my instructors at the racing school was Sabre Cook, who is an ex-W Series driver, and the only reason why she stopped racing is because she had a really bad accident and she got injured. She couldn't drive anymore. She's actually, this weekend, jumped back in a racing car, so well done, Sabre. But she was saying about how it's just seat time, right? Like that's one of the biggest things. How much seat time are you getting? And it's why Jamie's running away with the W Series this year, is because she's got so much more. I mean, she's obviously a phenomenal driver as well, but she's got so much more seat experience that it's just her strength. She knows how to operate the cars better. The other girls only get time when they're racing W Series. And you just see that massive jump in experience. Like you even get it within the, with male drivers, you get the same thing. Those that can afford private testing with all this money tend to get better results. Shock that, isn't it? So it's all about like, okay, how do we make sure that everybody is getting like at least a similar chance at it?
Well, because motorsport's always going to be expensive.
100%, yeah.
You can't get away from that. But I think, like you say, there's definitely more that can be done. Again, just like from a visibility, I don't like to call it a necessary evil, because I think it's like anything. There's pros and cons. I think there's clear cons to W Series, but I think in the grand scheme of things, I think the pros outweigh the cons.
I think it's also like it goes back to the representation thing of like it puts eyes on. Yeah. For young girls, they can tune into Formula One and see on the sport calendar, there's loads of girls like them racing as well, and that's going to get them to the grassroots level.
It shouldn't be necessary, but we're like that's an idealistic world to live in, and it is. And you see, like, because again, I think during your time in the paddock, have you seen kind of not just in the cars, but in terms of around? Because also I think there is this assumption that if you're a female working in motorsport, you must be in PR. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's that assumption.
That's basically.
Yeah. Exactly. And you're just kind of like pigeonholed into that. Have you seen that change in terms of that perception and?
No.
Really?
Like I there are a lot more female engineers, and I mean I think the greatest thing, and it kind of makes me feel sad that this has stuck with me so much. But I was at the London E-Prix, and I was invited to take a look at the FIA Girls on Track program. And again, like I'm a little bit like, is it actually doing the right things? But I hadn't gone and seen it. So I was like, I'll again, try, as I did with W Series, like I'll reserve judgment until I see it for myself. And I had a couple girls come up to me who knew me from TikTok.
Famous TikToker.
I'm literally not that. I'm hardly ever active on TikTok. So I was like, okay, well, I'll take it. And I asked them like, oh, you know, what do you want to do? And they said, I want to be an engineer. I was kind of expecting them to either say driver because that's the sexier side, or like, I want to work with the drivers because that's the biggest like bugbear I get is I get DMs from people asking me, I want to work in Formula One. And I'm like, doing what? You know what I mean? Like, what? Yeah. There's so much going on in Formula One, like that you know, it's not all the sexy jobs. But basically, they were just like, well, I just want to be with the drivers. And I'm like, that's not really a job. But you kind of expect them to say that. And when everybody in this little group said, yeah, well, we want to be engineers. And I was like, yes. And I got really excited. I wanted to talk to them more. And they were like, I'm really sorry, but the tour's going that way. And I was like, oh my God, go, please. I don't want to ruin your tour. But I think there will be, like, the next generation, I think, are way more savvy on what's going on. And they do have these programs that say you can do this. You don't have to just do marketing.